Welcome. In today's lesson, we're going to be discussing numbers, uh, which is a pretty interesting thing that involves our psychology. So numbers mean the same thing, but described in different ways will be perceived by people as more or less valuable. When you apply that to your business and marketing efforts, it has an effect. And this is one of the things that you definitely would A/B test, but these are absolutely useful things to know as far as it comes to your pricing, your offers, and really sort of across the board. So if you want something to sound larger, use a bigger unit of measure. So if you have a guarantee, instead of saying a 90-day guarantee, say a 3-month guarantee, because a month is a larger unit of measure, right? If you have a 12-month guarantee, say a 1-year unit of measure, right? Instead of 12 months or 365 days. If it takes 3 days for your product to work, say 3 days, or a day for your product to work. Don't say 24 hours, say 1 day. It just sounds like a larger amount of time to us. Consciously, we might not even be aware of it, but this is just another one of those things that's been tested, really large numbers with all sorts of different products and businesses, and different offerings, and these have been proven to be more effective. So when you're having these sort of offerings, if you want something to sound larger than it is, use a larger unit of measure. And when you want something to sound smaller, break it down into smaller time frames. So the reverse, right? Now we do this for even for Marketing Mastery. I have that laid out on there where it's $19.99 a month or whatever the pricing is, and it's broken down to 60 cents a day, right? So you can have Marketing Mastery for 60 cents a day. That it's the same price, right? But 60 cents a day, that sounds less to us, right? Consciously, it doesn't, that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it is just one of those things that's sort of been tested. So let's say you have a larger selling product, or you have a customer base that's really focused on price, right? Instead of saying, this is, let's say you're selling a vitamin the last 30 days, you're selling it for $10. So that, divide that by 30, say, look, for only whatever it is, 5 cents a day or whatever, you can have, our product. That 5 cents is much more appealing than that $10. That's a pretty small amount, but this is something that you should definitely test. For larger, more luxury products, it's kind of interesting because that customer base isn't going to be so concerned with that breakdown, right? It's worth testing for sure, but if you're selling let's just say you're selling a Rolls Royce, right? Like a really expensive car. You probably wouldn't have to push, payment options are this and this, you're only paying this much per week if you really break it down, because that customer base isn't going to be so concerned with that, it's usually a higher amount of revenue for those customers, right? So it kind of depends on your customer base and exactly what you're selling, but this is good to know. So you want something to sound larger, use a bigger unit of measure. When you want something to sound smaller, use a smaller unit of measure, or break things down into smaller units. If you want a number to look bigger, use zeros. Okay, so it will help you burn 10,000 calories. Say you have a fat loss product or whatever it is. Don't say 10K. Right? Say 10,000. That bigger amount. It just looks like more to us, right? Instead of the 10K. And then if you, in reverse, if you want something to sound smaller, you could potentially use the reverse of that, but really there's a bit of a different system there. So if you want a number to look bigger, and this would only be applied to the benefits of your product and to things where you want to have the number actually look larger, you would apply zeros, or actually use the number, right? You see this everywhere, but changing something from $100 to $99, $99 looks like a much more cost-effective, or affordable pricing compared to $100. It's only a dollar. Doesn't, it's not a huge effect. But when we see that, it does, increase conversions. So, you look at your pricing and kind of see where you are with it, and this would apply to higher end, lower end products really across the board. I mean, you see it everywhere. You rarely see products that are just $100. It's $99, $50, $49. Another thing that you could also test is, that $49.99, it wouldn't compare to 49.00. Test the 99. I mean, that actually has a bit of an effect as well. So, just those. It's not the actual value that we're looking at here, right? Like it's the actual response that we're getting, and people just have these responses, and this is something that's been tested out. Now, that being said, across the board, what do I always say? A/B test this, right? This is something that you might want to, take a set of your products and change the pricing for a month and see the effects, right? You can also do if you're doing remarketing, or if you're having customers not make the purchase until second or third time visiting the product page, I would suggest A/B testing usually. But in that case, that might be difficult, because if they come back and the pricing is different, those 2 or 3 times, then that's going to definitely affect your results. So maybe just take a set of your products and change the pricing to 99 if you have those, and test it for months. See if there's any more results. Obviously, you want a substantial amount of traffic and customers to sort of do that sort of testing, but it's worth doing. Now, another part of that is ending a price with an odd number, especially 7. It's another one of those things to try out. You do see this a lot, and it actually does have an effect. Not universal, but it's good. So let's say, I mean, if you're doing this for a few months, take a set of your products that are maybe $50, change it to $49, test that for a month, you see the results from that, change the pricing, run it for another month, test the results from that, right? That is 2 months of time, but let's just say that you figure out, oh well, if we change the pricing from let's see here, $9.99 for a product that was $10, and that gets a 0.5% better conversions, and then you test it out for another month, and you ended for $7.99, or for $7.99. That pricing's a little bit off there, but you see what I'm saying. If you know that delivers even 1% higher conversions, 1.5% conversions, that's a really valuable piece of information to apply across the board for all of your efforts, right? I mean, if you have 1.5% better conversions across the board for all of your products, you're going to get, that's a huge amount of money over a year time span, 2 years, 5 years. I mean, that's very substantial, right? This is stuff that you absolutely need to test and kind of get dialed in. So ending a price with an odd number, especially 7, always works better than ending a price with an even number. So $9.99 is better than $9.94. Okay, and then some tests also revealed that $7.97 worked better than $7.99. So this is just something to test across the board. So I'll go over all these. But if you want something to sound larger, use a bigger unit of measure. 1 month sounds longer than 30 days. 1 year sounds longer than 12 months. 3 months sounds longer than 90 days, right? Bigger unit of measure makes it sound longer. If you want something that sounds smaller, break it down into smaller units, or break it down into smaller units. So 24 hours when compared to 1 day, 12 months when compared to 1 year. So if you want something to sound smaller, same with your pricing as well. You can break it down into smaller units. Again, with our example, $19.99 a month for our marketing mastery, it's actually only 60 cents a day. Only 60 cents a day. Right? It's the same price, but it just sounds smaller to people. So if you want something to look bigger, include zeros. This would be like the benefits of your product, your guarantees, any sort of the value that you're offering. Use actual zeros. If you want to kind of minimize those numbers, consider using the actual words, or 25,000, just say 25K, right? Or say 10 million, just write out, 10 million. Whereas if you want to look larger, you say 1000, right? So get things down to 9, so not whole numbers. So $100, get that down to $99. Test that with everything, A/B test, and then have a price that ends with an odd number, especially 7. 7 really stands out. Never end your pricing with an even number. Don't know why. Just this is just one of those things where they've done it, a ton of testing with it. This isn't like huge. You're not going to double your sales by changing the pricing from an even number to an odd number. But it's all of this is really a lot of this is game of inches, right? If you're increasing your conversion rate by half of a percent by just changing your pricing from an 8 to a 9 or an 8 to a 7, that's substantial. That's something that's going to have a pretty dramatic effect on your business over time. And then one other part of this is don't leave money on the table. So the way we kind of analyze pricing and consider how to price our products and our services, we look at kind of profit margins, things like that. All that's very good, but when we kind of take this how numbers are perceived into account, it can actually have a pretty dramatic effect on your pricing. So if you're selling something that's $59, $69 sounds not, like that sounds like about the same number, right? If 69, 79, it's like not really a big number. Now, if you're selling something that's $90 and then you change it to 100, that sounds like a huge leap to people, right? And then if you have something that's 40 some odd dollars and then you change that pricing to $50, that sounds like a much bigger leap than from 60 to 70 or like 60 to 70, that sort of range that it's kind of been tested, with all this across the board, but like the 60 to 70 range, if you have something that's in that pricing range, up the price to $79, whatever it might be, because 60 something and 70 something doesn't really sound like that big of a difference. Still, it doesn't matter if it was $1 to $11 or $91 to $101. That's the same amount. It's just how people perceive things. So, that's kind of a midpoint with the numbers. So I'm pretty sure the same applies to like the 30 to 40. It's not really, the conversions don't really drop off that much. So it's just something to test. It's just a weird thing about us where we don't really perceive that as the same amount as 90 to 100 or 20 to 30 like that. So this is just one of the things to sort of test whenever possible. A/B test really across the board. If you need to, take a unit of your products, test the pricing for a month, see the results, change around, test the pricing for another month. Obviously, there's factors involved. If you're doing, like, let's just say you tested for the month of December, and then the next month you tested the different pricing for January, and December is obviously you're probably going to have much more sales, depending on what you're selling, just because it's the holidays and everything. Like, you have to take those things into consideration, but being objective and kind of just looking at that as much as possible, separate from the other elements that might affect sales. It can be very insightful. So just something to consider, something to be mindful of, and a good thing to know for any of your marketing and really any of your business efforts. But yeah, that's what I got on numbers, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.